Oh, it's good to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea how good it feels. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Strength in Numbers. I am Armon Owlia, ladies and gentlemen, your co-host, Mr. Alex Wilson.
Hey guys, it's good to be back on. It's been 2 months since our last show, hasn't it? So looking forward to being back on.
I'm very happy to be back. I mean, as I'm Alex, I know you know this. I know a couple people at HK. By the way, shout out to HK people who are watching this. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Do not forget, like, share, subscribe, the whole enchilada. There is amazing content on this channel. I guarantee it. Alex is doing an amazing job. I'll give him so many props for it. Even though we don't see eye to eye to many things, we can see eye to eye the fact that this is an amazing channel. Please subscribe to this. I really do appreciate it. But I will say this: the last 2 months, last 3 months, has it been 3 months or 2 months? I can't remember.
It's been 2 months, I believe.
It's been 2 months.
No, it's been right. It's been 4.
Holy what? 4 months?
Because we did our last show in June, I believe.
Yeah, was it? I think it was in mid-June. If I remember
correctly.
Exactly,
and we're mid-October.
In mid-June, yeah. So it's been about 3.5 months, and the reason why we've been off the air for that long is because, well, I have been very busy. I know I've been very busy. Alex, I know, has been busy as well. But the reason why is that I've also been focusing on a lot of things, like my transition to college. I'm now a published author. I have 2 books. I already have an article in a couple of newspapers, and I'm very happy to say that after 3.5 months, I have finally been given the mental go-ahead to come back onto the show, and it just feels so great to be back with Alex, to be back with just a general audience. So it's just, it feels great. So, Alex.
Well, thank you very much, Armon, for that introduction. It's that I can only echo your words. The reason why we've not gone on with this show for 4 months now is because for 2 reasons. First of all, Armon had to go to college. Obviously, that's way more important than the channel, obviously. So, we had to give him time, and also with my school starting, and I had a few other things on my mind. So, I wasn't quite ready to. I wasn't quite ready to reappear on the channel, but things over the last 2-3 days have gotten a bit better. To all HK viewers watching, that's for you. But anyway, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this debate, because we've had a history with arguing about this, so it's good that we can get it. It's good we can get it on camera,
I will say this: history is an understatement. This is a complete understatement. We've had almost to the point of nuclear war about this.
This has really been a big. So yeah, this has really been a massive debate between the 2 of us. So it's good that we can finally end the war today.
Exactly, we will end the war once and for all. And the funny thing is, it's okay if I just explain quickly what we're going to be doing, very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
So unless you've been living under a rock or inside the Earth's core, which I'm okay with you doing in this case, you might know that Donald Trump is the Republican presidential nominee now, which is very nice for some people. Not for me, but very nice for some people. If you read my article, then you know exactly what I mean. But Hillary Clinton has won, controversially, I will admit, the Democratic primary. So it's going to be Trump versus Clinton for all the masses, which everyone does not like.
Don't forget the libertarian Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. We can't forget them, can we?
Of course
we have to be fair to everyone.
This year is the year of the third party. I will be the first one to admit.
We have to be fair, yeah.
We have to. You're right. And so, what up, Shiv?
Hey, Shiv.
God, that hurt my back for a long time.
Yeah, just to let you know, we decided to let everyone go down for a little bit so I can make a bit of a dramatic entrance. So Shiv, I apologize. We should let you come back up. But in any case, so what is going on is 2 weeks ago, Trump and Clinton had their first debate, and unless, of course, you didn't see it, we will just summarize it in 3 words, shall we? You ready? Trump got smoked. So Oh, hey, watch the language. Okay, it's supposed to be a PG show.
The kids watching, Alex. Come on.
Exactly, there are kids
Let's
watching.
be-
I mean, I'm the college student. I'm not doing anything like that. Anyway, well, you have to admit he did, and
Yeah, he did, fair and square. He started off well, and I thought he was going to win at the beginning, but then he lost his cool, as he always does, and the candidate who presented herself better came out on top. So
exactly.
yeah, fair play to her. I think wasn't what I expected. I thought
the better person won for this.
the better person won. The better debater won. The better debater
won. Absolutely right. So Sunday will be the next debate, but why wait till Sunday when we can debate today?
Very good point.
That is why we are here. Shiv, first off, this is actually the first time I'm meeting you, so this is a great honor that we're going to be meeting in this format. You get to know me a little bit better because of this. Yeah. Shiv, you will be our moderator, and if you want to explain the rules,
of course,
you're more than welcome.
Okay. So each individual will have 2 minutes to make a point and 1 minute to respond. I will be timing this. The debate will include the topics of illegal immigration, foreign policy, taxes, gay marriage, and the economy and jobs. And then finally, national security. I, as the moderator, will be allowed to jump in at any point, either to ask a follow-up question or to ask them to provide more detail.
Yep, that's very true.
All right. That was completely natural, not staged.
Yeah. Not stage one bit.
Did not stage at all.
Not stage one bit. Not prepared by me.
Yeah, all the questions were prepared by you. And actually, I will say this, even though you are a Trump supporter, we've already addressed this.
Yeah.
I tried to be as fair amazingly fair. I promise you.
I tried to be as fair as possible.
And you were amazingly fair, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Right. Shiv, can we go on to opening statements now?
Of course. Make your
opening statement. You start off.
Well, my fellow viewing public, 2016 has been a banner year for change as well as social justice. The Black Lives Matter movement has gone full swing. Britain is no longer going to be a part of the European Union. There is a lot that is happening. But the one thing that hasn't changed in the last 250 years, well, 240 actually, my bad, this is bad math on my part, is that we've always had one constant in the United States, a man as the president of the United States. Now, yes, I am a feminist, but any woman I will look at and I will take a look at any candidate and I will say they are the best candidate. And I can say with full confidence that Hillary Clinton should be the next president of the United States in my mind for many different reasons, most of all being that she is the most qualified, she's one of the most intelligent, and yes, she might be one of the more corrupt ones, but she's also shown that she can play politics side as well as some part of the personable side. I mean, yes, she isn't exactly the best politician. I mean, and not even the best person, but she also shows that she has heart, she has charisma, she has stamina, and has all the qualities necessary to be a great president of the United States.
The reason why I am supporting Donald Trump through this campaign is not because I'm a racist. It's not because I'm a homophobic. It's because I believe that this world, this changing world, is becoming a world of business. Now, the United States have undeniably been in a complete mess under mainly the administration of George W. Bush and as well under Barack Obama. The trade deficit is a complete disaster. They have lost 250 billion jobs to China. They have lost billions to Japan, and they have lost billions to India and Mexico. It's about time that they had a successful businessman in charge to run the economy and make the decisions that matter. Donald Trump has been on the other side for his whole life. He understands what it's like to be a civilian and a person living in the country. And he also has the confidence to make decisions that are not necessarily politically correct, as Clinton would say. I think it's, and I'm sure Armon would agree with me when I say this, I think it's a year where we don't necessarily have the best candidates. However, I am supporting Donald Trump through this race as I believe he is the more intelligent individual to be running this country.
Okay. Armon, if I may ask you the first question.
Go ahead.
Hillary Clinton has proposed to raise taxes in order to increase government funding. Don't you think that this would be a negative? This would be negative for the economy, and less business will be created, and that will decrease the amount of jobs?
I don't necessarily see it as that. What I see it as is, if you look at who exactly she's going to raise the taxes on, she's not going to raise the taxes on the middle class, which is the most important thing. Because if you raise taxes on the middle class, what's going to happen is you're going to see people going into poverty. You're going to see more, you're going to see less jobs actually being created. That I can agree with. The people who he's raising the taxes on are the upper class, which is like the 1% of the world, the 0.01% of that 1%. But I'll wait, don't worry.
No, it's fine. You can continue. Sorry about that.
It's no problem. So, I mean, if you look at who she's going to raise the taxes on, it's not going to be on the middle class. It's going to be on the 0.1% of the 1% of the United States who make a lot of money, who essentially don't pay taxes. So they're going to supply a lot of the money to the government to provide money for healthcare, military spending, even for creation of jobs. So I think honestly that the fact she's raising taxes, it's good as long as it's not on the middle class, because they're the ones who need the money the most. They need to be able to work hard. And of course, we've had a history of people who are high up within, of course, within social status who don't pay taxes, Donald Trump included. I mean, if you look at his taxes before 1995, it shows that he hasn't paid much income tax and he's being denied for it. Whereas Hillary Clinton for the last 20 years has also been paying her taxes to the fullest of her extent.
Can I respond? Do I have the chance to respond?
Yep.
The first thing regarding taxes is, this goes for every single person in the world. If you owe a certain amount of taxes, you aren't going to pay more. Donald Trump paid every cent that he owed. He owed, as one of his businesses failed in 1993, actually, he reported a complaint to the government, and that gave him the legal use for him not to pay taxes for another, I believe the correct number is another 23 years. So he, first of all, he may not have paid taxes, but he was legally entitled to. It's not as if he was breaking the law, just like Hillary Clinton broke the law by creating another email server. Now, second of all, as a Republican, although I'm not American, if I was forced to run, I would run as a Republican. And the problem is with the Democratic Party, they believe it's the government that creates jobs. They're wrong. It's the private sector that creates jobs. It's the little businesses that expand, and it's the people that do create jobs. So the more businesses that are created, it will create more jobs. And I can say that as my dad worked in business, and I've seen that when small businesses who don't pay as much taxes and have the opportunity to express themselves in the world of business, they will make more money. Think of it this way. One of your best presidents, Ronald Reagan, who I know you're going to mention on this, one of the US's best presidents, Ronald Reagan, had this time in his 8 years, the Reagan evolution. And the way America became great was decreasing taxes, expanding the private sector, creating businesses, and that is how it became great.
Chance
That's
to
my
rebut?
opinion.
Okay.
What does it say on the screen?
Shiv, may I have a chance to rebut that one?
Of course, yeah. You'll be timed for 1 minute then.
Of course. So, Alex, let's just start backward and we'll work our way forward, shall we? So the first thing you were describing was Reaganomics, which almost destroyed the economy of the United States. And that's actually not the reason why I respect Ronald Reagan. I don't think America was great because of its economy. No, it was great because it was essentially helping the breakdown of the Soviet Union of the 1980s, which was a major, major, major step in world politics as well as world economics. I will give you that, and I will get to that a little later on. Now, going back a little bit further, yes, Donald Trump may be able to legally avoid taxes for the next 20-something years, but he's still not paying taxes. If he wants to help out the middle class of America, which is, I know, his target demographic, shouldn't he be paying taxes a little bit, my man? And also the fact is, yeah, Hillary might have also done things that are illegal, but come on. How many 69-year-olds do you know that can handle more than one email account?
Can I go?
Of course, 1 minute is going to be timed.
Well, the thing is, you said it yourself. There's a big difference between doing something that's legal and illegal. Donald Trump has raised millions and millions of dollars to charity and to other businesses for campaign donations, for politicians to express themselves as both Democrats and Republicans, for politicians to express themselves so they could fund their own campaign and they could share their issues. It's a major difference it's a major difference doing something that's legal and probably incorrect and doing something that's very constitutionally illegal and violated the law. The next point, what I said when I brought up Ronald Reagan is not that when he came in, the economy was a mess. What I respect him for, and this goes for Trump's running mate, Mike Pence, as what he did as governor of Indiana, what he was able to do was he was able to help the middle class by asking them to pay less taxes, and that increased the quality of the private sector. So more jobs were created. It's not that when he came in, the economy was great. It took time for him to balance the budget, and with that, the economy started growing as more jobs were created, and they saved a lot of money. That's
Okay.
my point.
That's your point?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, we
can't have a robot. We can't have.
Hold on.
No, that's something I forgot in my last point that I just want to quickly bring up here before I forget.
Okay, I'll time you 30 seconds.
Okay, this will not take long. So in terms of what you said earlier about jobs being created, I slightly disagree with that, because in order to create jobs, you're going to need funding and money. And the only way that funding is provided is through the banks, which are run through the government. So yeah, you're going to need some, pushback from the public sector in order to essentially create jobs. So that's why it's so important that taxes are paid, so that we can at least put money into the banks, so that we can at least create more jobs. That's the reason why the taxation system is there.
I have a statistic.
Alex, should we move on to the next question?
Just maybe let me make this point, and then we'll go on to the next one.
30 seconds.
I have a statistic that the United States, the average minimum wage for both working men and women is approximately $50,000 a year. How is a man or a woman supposed to pay around 25% of their taxes, their personal taxes and business taxes, to the government? That would provide them with very little for them to spend with their own family and for their own personal use. Okay, that's my point.
Right.
Next.
Okay, next question. Alex, this question is for you. Yep. Donald Trump's tax plan has been labeled as dangerous by some of the most sophisticated economists around the country, as it means that the wealthy individuals will not have to pay their fair share of taxes. Why are you strongly in favor of it?
Well, like I said, I'm strongly in favor of it because, like I said, the problem with the Democratic Party is that, as I said, they think it's the government that creates jobs. It's not. It's the private sector that creates jobs. And the more jobs and the more businesses that people will be able to open, the more jobs that will be created. When you increase taxes and make something incredibly difficult for the normal working man and woman who has problems, because with the housing taxes and with the housing rent price increasing day by day, considering all the world events that have happened, I personally believe that you have to make businesses and then you could possibly increase them later. But where the US are now, where the job rate isn't too great, and we'll get on to that later, I believe that you have to reduce it, rebalance the budget, and then possibly later you could decrease taxes. As for the wealthy people who don't pay their fair share of taxes, well, the situation is they're legally entitled, as I said with Donald Trump in his situation, they're legally entitled for what they do, for what they're doing. Because if Donald Trump did have to pay taxes, he wouldn't have half the money he had today. And that would have massively hurt him, his family, and his business for the future. That's my point.
All right. Armon, you have 1 minute to respond.
Let's see though, half of $671 million. He would have $300 million. He'd still be fine, actually.
It's more. It's 900 million actually. But yeah, go
Okay,
on.
then fine. $450 million. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. He's still a millionaire. He'll still be fine. He can recoup that later. In terms of the taxation system, however, I will admit you are right in some regards. But like certain people legally do not have to pay taxes. That I can agree with. But there are people who actually don't pay it voluntarily. They illegally avoid taxes. That is a federal offense. You can go to jail for it. And unfortunately, like from what we see and from what we are hearing, yeah, Trump might actually be legally avoiding taxes. But, assume that in like when the next reports come out from 96 onwards, we see that he's not actually he's not legally avoiding taxes. What then? How exactly is he contributing? So wait, I'm not done. In terms of also the government creating jobs, I mean, yeah, I agree with you to some extent, but not 100%. I think that, yeah, it does really focus on the private sector and what they can do in order to create jobs. I agree, but they need the funding for that. And that's why the government is able to provide money. And yeah, your point from the last round, completely valid, but it still holds that the government still needs to provide money to the banks in order for the banks to give the people of the private sector a loan to create jobs. So that's the only reason why that is even possible. So once again.
Well,
Okay.
when I say I'm
30
firmly
seconds.
and trust me, I'm firmly in favour. I believe that all wealthy people should start paying their fair share of taxes. I am by no means asking people to break the law. I know there's some idiots out there who think they can get away with it. But what I'm saying is, and I understand your point. I'll be fair. I get what you're saying. You think that if the businesses that they have now, if you increase taxes, that would how could I say it? That would grow the economy to the required standard. But if you look at the statistics, the economy isn't in great shape right now. And the current plan that is working, and that's what Hillary Clinton has proposed to go on with, isn't exactly working. That is why I think that it's time for a change. Go back to what works. Go back to the conservative economical principles and regrow the economy.
Alex, if I may add a follow-up question.
Of course you can.
What exactly are these statistics, and could you give us the numbers of these?
What the statistics are in the United States under Barack Obama's reign have created approximately 14 million jobs. Now, that may seem like a lot, but when you compare it to the other successful presidents, which, as in the Reagans, the John F. Kennedy, with his 2 years, when you compare them to all the successful presidents, that is not exactly a good number with 2 terms. And that is mainly because the middle class people have openly said they do not feel comfortable. So the number I'm talking about is the trade deficit, which obviously reduces jobs, is around $3 trillion at the moment, the trade deficit, with the major countries as in Japan, China, India, etc. But the number I'm mainly focusing on is the United States. The jobs created since Barack Obama came in office in 2008 has been rumored to be 13 to 15 million. No one knows exactly, but it's 13 to 15 million.
Okay, Armon, do you want to rebut that?
Absolutely. Now, there's only one problem with your argument, Alex. First off, Kennedy didn't even serve 2 terms. He served half of the first.
No, that's what I mean. 2 years is what I meant. I meant 2 years. 1960 to 1962. That's what I'm saying. Not 2 terms. 2 years is
because Obama has served 2 terms. Reagan has served 2 terms.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. 2 years, half a term. When I said 2, I meant 2 years. Okay, from 1960 to 1962. I know my facts. Don't worry.
All right. I just want to make sure. Anyway, also, like you said, most of Reagan's policies worked after his presidency was actually over. That we actually saw the after effects. No, you did say that. What
I said was, they didn't come into immediate effect. So in his first terms, things weren't also great. If he only had 1 term, we wouldn't even be talking about him right now. But as his 2 terms expanded and went on, that's when I think people saw the Reagan that could expand the economy and fix the social issues that were going on. Sorry.
I will say this as an American, though. The economy is actually in general, the economy is actually much better off when Obama left office than when Obama came in. That we cannot deny. If Obama came in and essentially went with Bush's plan, I wouldn't even be sitting here. I'd probably still be sitting in Hong Kong with not much money to my name. So I will say this: Bush destroyed a lot of America. Obama has worked hard.
I fully agree with you. Where I do agree is I think, and I'm a Republican. I've said that I agree with the majority of principles from the Republican Party. I think George Bush and his idiotic brother Jeb are all complete and utter morons. Okay, they are probably some of the worst presidential candidates I've ever seen. And as a Republican, and I would say conservative, I'm not even going to bother trying to defend that idiot's points. But anyway, what I'm saying is, I think despite all of the conspiracy theories that are going on and all that rubbish, I think Barack Obama is a good man, was a good senator, brought a lot of energy. However, I think where he has struggled massively, and this is why I've lost a lot of respect, and this is why I've lost a lot of respect to him. I think he wasn't able. This goes for the economy. He wasn't able to grow the economy, and that was because he was a first-term senator, a young man. Understandable. The facts show only 13 million jobs in 2 terms, compared to what Bush did. That's quite bad. So that's where I'm coming from.
There is a bit of an explanation for that, though. There is a bit of an explanation.
Yeah, you can go on. And that actually relates to Hillary. Hillary was involved in the Obama-Clinton doctrine from 2008 to 2013, I believe. She was involved in that doctrine.
Yeah, because she was only there for 1 term. But in any case,
yeah.
I will have to say this, though. The first 2 years, they were focused primarily on healthcare because they needed to get America healthy. And I think that was personally great. But don't forget, after 2 years, what happened? The Senate and the House of Representatives both got controlled by the Republicans. So what you're going to have is a Democratic president fighting against a Republican government. So it's essentially, he's trying to propose ideas that will actually boost the economy if the Republicans strike it down. That's the only problem. Now, if Trump is in there and it's a Republican-controlled party, then we're going to have a lot more laws brought in, which for the most part, from what I see, is not really a good thing. But at the rate this is going, and if you look at public opinion, most of the people in America actually want the Democratic Party back in control of the House and the Senate. And if that happens with Hillary, then what we're going to see is most likely more, not much pushback, but more acceptance and more pushing forward of laws related to foreign policy, economics, and plus, you might not say that she's an expert in economics. That I will agree with. But don't forget, that's why we have the cabinet. She's not necessarily going to be the expert on everything. The people who she will choose are going to be some of the foremost experts in their fields. So in terms of Hillary not being good with economics, I suggest you strike that down right now because, yeah, she may not be good, but she's going to have people around her that will be good.
Okay, Alex. Okay, this is your last point. I'm timing you 30 minutes.
What I'll quickly say to rebut is, you say that and you are true, that both Congress and the Senate were run by Republicans. The majority of them were Republicans. That's true. What Barack Obama wanted so badly was Obamacare. And this is so pivotal to this argument. Obamacare has absolutely demolished the working class because now because not us, every single one of us and the people watching, we come from relatively wealthy backgrounds. However, for the middle class, which is the majority of people, the economy, so expanding jobs, as I've said, has been completely out of touch as it's a complete mess. So where I disagree is Barack Obama, a highly democratic liberal, went to Congress and the House and they approved one shocking plan. So it's not entirely correct that they won't approve what you say, because they've just approved something that's very, 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 very liberal and has turned out to be a complete disaster. And
the House and the Senate were both controlled by the Democrats.
It was even. But the last thing I'll say, Donald Trump he's not the most hardcore of Republicans. I'm not going to defend him and say he's an extreme conservative. He's not. He's intelligent because he's not a libertarian, he's not a Republican, he's not a Democrat. He would come up with certain principles that would fit for both parties. Because before he started pretending that he was a conservative, we've seen that he has outlined many democratic ideas. But anyway, yeah, let's finish this.
Okay.
Down to the next topic.
On to the next topic. Armon, this question is for you.
Shoot.
In countries across the Atlantic, a large part of the economy comes from the trade deal signed that the government's created. In her time as Secretary of State and as Senator Hillary Clinton has signed trade deals that have been detrimental to the country, both the government and the working class, with $20 trillion in debt. Why should she be elected over someone who has undeniably and had great success in business and beaten by many of the world's most economically powerful countries in the world? I will remind the viewers that Alex made these questions up.
They're fair. Read them. They
actually are pretty fair. I'll be the first to admit they are very fair.
You'll see later. I've abolished Trump in his record. Okay, so they're completely fair. Okay?
All right.
It's a fair question.
All right.
Okay. So with all due respect, I will say this: the economy is a major issue, especially the world economy. But I will say this: it's not the number one issue at the moment. I will say at best it's number two. Number two issue is economy. Number one issue is world politics and essentially how we're going to cooperate with other nations. You know why? Think about this. Brexit is still a major problem right now in terms of sort of how it's impacted on the world economy. We're still feeling some of the after effects, even though it's normalized. We're still feeling some after effects. The war in Syria, the war in Iraq with ISIS, those are still major points, and it requires major cooperation between governments in order to resolve this issue. The economy is very important, but we also need someone who knows foreign policy like the back of her hand. And yeah, Benghazi might have happened. She might have been responsible to a degree, but that's just one blemish on her record. On the whole, though, she has actually done a lot for foreign policy in the United States, and actually, I think that she would be able to do things that Trump probably could not, because she has a better reputation as a politician than Donald Trump, and also has a better knowledge, I think, of foreign policy than he does.
Okay, Alex, 1 minute.
Well, the first thing is people automatically think that if you're in politics for a long time, you're the more qualified. Well, the truth is, and many people, like I'm sure you'll agree with me, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake. It was an absolute disaster. Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. It was a complete disaster. We were told there were weapons of mass destruction on the one. But anyway, I think that Hillary Clinton's decisions on foreign policy, her foreign policy knowledge, is quite worrying. Because where I use the example, when everyone says this point to me, I say to them, they went to Iraq was a big mistake. Now, when you go to war, not an ideal situation, you don't just take them out. The correct way to do it is you declare victory and you leave. Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State at that time, and along with Obama was in charge, made an absolute mockery of getting out of Iraq. It was an absolute categorical failure. And that is why ISIS are what they are today. They got the oil and they funded the majority of ISIS. Now I think that I would feel very, very, very uncomfortable with Hillary Clinton as president, as the decision she would make that what wouldn't only affect the United States, would affect the world, are incredibly concerning. That's
right.
Okay.
So,
Alex,
yeah.
Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah, of course.
So are you stating that Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration, although indirectly, are you stating that there's a chance that they have funded ISIS? Is that what you're saying? Well,
not purposely. It's not like they went over to the Middle East, signed a contract, yet we want ISIS. It's not as if that's what happened. Okay, I'm not saying that. Okay. To any idiots that think that, then you're a moron watching.
Okay, just to clarify.
But anyway, what I'm saying is that because of their decision making, ISIS are the threat that they are today.
Okay, just to clarify, Armon, you have 30 seconds to rebut?
Okay, so in terms of the Hillary Clinton Obama thing, in terms of in terms of the war in Iraq, I will admit, yes, they did a bit of a cowardly move, but at the same time, Americans wanted the soldiers moved out quickly, and that's exactly what they did. So, first off, also we got out of a war that we had no business being in the first place, thanks to Obama. So I will give him that. In terms of, however, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, in terms of that, I will say that Hillary Clinton, yes, might be a little bit worrying as a politician, but at the same time, she sort of has a better reputation, as I previously mentioned. So not much I can really say to rebut to that.
All right, Alex, do you have any rebuttal?
Well, all I'll say is that no, I've not really. All I'll say is that with Hillary Clinton, what I have to emphasize is that it won't only affect the US, it will affect the whole world. Now, some of those decisions have globally affected the world. But that's why I would feel very, very worried with her as president. I think Trump's not the most, as it will say later on in the script. I'm not saying Trump's with the best temperament, but I think that the war in Iraq was a mess. When you say the American people wanted out, well, there's a correct way and there's a wrong way to get out.
Okay.
What they should have done was they should have declared victory and left, take some of the oil and left. What they decided to do was they decided to pull everyone out, and that it was a complete mess. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Well, we had no business being there in the first place, so I would rather have been pulled completely out than essentially pull the rug out from under the Iraqi government, which we've actually helped develop. So honestly, it wasn't really a cowardly move so much. It was a strategic move to get out of a place where we had no business being in the first place.
Okay, Alex, moving on to the next question.
Hmm.
Donald Trump has nearly lost $1 billion from his businesses and has gone bankrupt on nearly 3 occasions. Why should someone like him, who has the tendency to make rash decisions, be elected president? Couldn't this potentially ruin the country's economy?
You see, the questions are fair, right? Okay, don't call me biased.
I didn't see that. I did not see that.
The questions
they are fair.
Right, okay.
They are fair.
Well, the reason is because in the business that Donald Trump was in, which was mainly developing hotels and properties in general, when for us, him losing $1 billion would be like us losing $100 on the street, because he's got 50, 100 businesses out there that he's developed. Now, if 1 or 2 of them fail, then he would obviously go bankrupt. Not every one of all the businesses he's created would have been successful. Now, where Donald Trump is integral for this election is he knows because it's no doubt the US are being heavily, heavily ripped off by China. The trade deficit is $250 billion. What he will do from a business standpoint is he would know what products to sell, because as he said on numerous occasions, what they'll do is they'll devalue the currency and then they'll get a 20% better deal. But anyway, that's what I have to say on that. I think it's normal, and all businessmen, people using that as a scapegoat, all businessmen who have invested the amount he has, and he's invested a lot of money. I can tell you this for a fact. In real estate, you have to invest a lot of money. And from a business standpoint, it's completely normal to lose that amount. That's my point.
Right. Armon, 1 minute.
Yes, it is completely to lose money, but to lose money in Atlantic City, essentially you lose money as in a casino business. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. So yeah, that's all I'd say on that.
Well, in Atlantic City, when he lost money in Atlantic City, that area were going through probably a depression state. They were going, and all businesses, there were tons and tons. People don't speak about this because people like to scapegoat Trump. What really happened was everywhere around that area, businesses were losing millions and millions of dollars, and half of that ended up closed. That's what happened there. So
Okay.
that's what I have to say.
All right. All right. Now we shall make our final statements on this subject of the economy. Armon, you have 2 minutes to make yours, and the same goes for Alex.
When George W. Bush came into power, yes, 9/11 happened, and it did take a toll on our economy. But we got into an unneeded war. We had multiple natural disasters that completely decimated our economy. When Obama came in, he actually rebuilt that economy. He built the Affordable Care Act, which has actually provided free health care to those who probably wouldn't be able to get access to health care. I ought to know because I'm working with some of those people personally. Hillary Clinton, I feel, even though she doesn't have a necessarily strong strength in economics, as Mr. Trump most likely does, I will give you that, she will have people around her to help her out in terms of what is best for the economy. And so it is for that reason, besides also the fact that she is a foreign policy expert, in my view, that she will be a better president than Trump on the economy.
My closing statement is, I think that Hillary Clinton, and we've seen this as Secretary of State, she's had an abysmal record dealing with other world leaders. The Middle East hate her. Now, even Barack Obama, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton worked in the same administration for about 5 or 6 years. It's probably less. But anyway, what I have to say on that is Hillary Clinton couldn't get along with the Iranians after the trade deal that went on between the US and Iran, the nuclear deal. She couldn't even get along with the Iranians during her time. And second of all, what I'll say in response is, I believe that Trump's plan to devalue the currency and make them pay for their products that they're ripping the US on, that is a proper plan and one that I think would be very effective.
Okay, moving on to our next topic of illegal immigration. Alex, this question is for you. Donald Trump has made a proposal to temporarily ban all non-American Muslims from the United States until they find out what is going on. Doesn't this show the lack of knowledge on foreign policy to make such a broad statement that harms millions of innocent Muslims across the world?
You see, the questions are fair. Anyway, what I'll say on that is, when I had first heard about the Muslim ban, and I can say this, I was incredibly shocked. I'll be honest, I questioned it for a number of weeks. But when you think of it, you don't see I love this expression very much. You don't, although there are many great, and there's so many great Muslims out there. There really are. There's so many are. However, many of them are coming into the country illegally, and there is a massive problems with Muslims coming into the US illegally and causing problems. Now, it's not the ideal situation, but tell me this. What is the ideal situation? Barely doing anything or fixing the source temporarily?
Okay, Armon, 1 minute.
When it comes to fixing the source temporarily, it's not necessarily right to outright ban all people just because they believe in a certain faith. There is equally as many Muslim terrorists as there are Christian terrorists, Buddhist terrorists, Jewish terrorists, etc. Of course, every religion has their own extremists. But I will say this, as a first-generation American, I was born to Iranian parents. I was born here, though, in the United States. I'm a first-generation American. I'm the child of immigrants. And I will say that not allowing immigrants to come in and try to prosper in the American economy, because the fact they're only like I will say, if there's like a boat of 10,000, 20 or 30 of them are terrorists, that's not necessarily justifiable, because you're just talking about like 0.02% of those people. And also with some of the most recent terrorist attacks, they're not necessarily people who actually just came off the boat. These are, I'll give you an example, the Orlando nightclub shooting. That was not an immigrant. That was someone who was born in the United States. Their parents were immigrants, so they could not foresee that this was going to happen. So necessarily this is not going to be the best solution, especially since it would go against, in general, the general concept of America.
What I will say is, I fully agree with you that, and I can say this, it's not an ideal situation. And the points you make are very, very valid. There are millions and millions of great Muslims out there who do a fantastic job. However, Where I do disagree is there is a massive problem with Islamic terrorism in the world. It's a massive problem, and I believe that a lot of it is being directed in the US, and in the US directly there is a huge problem with Islamic terrorism. Now, it's obviously not the ideal situation, but I think something has to be done, and I would rather something which is a bit rash be done, as it's causing serious harm to the economy, be done, than absolutely nothing.
Armon, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. So for everyone who's watching this debate, and even to my opponent, I recommend there's an episode of a show called Bones called The Patriot in Purgatory. The reason I bring that up was that they're investigating a man who died on 9/11. And one of the people who are working on him is a devout Muslim from Iran, who is a doctor and is someone who is a very good doctor at that. When they ask, are you feeling okay with doing this? He says, it's an honor to serve this man, because the people who hijacked those planes also hijacked my religion that day. It's not necessarily like the mindset of all Muslim terrorists, because like I said, there aren't just Muslim terrorists. There are also very well-known Christian terrorists who have been plotting in the US for the last 20, 30 years. And of course, they're going to continue with every attack, with every terrorist attack. There are different reasons. It's not right to say, just outright say, oh, they're all Muslim terrorists, because that is not true.
Can I respond?
Okay. Yes, 30 seconds. This is the last.
Well, what I'll say to respond is I fully agree with you, and I'm not saying, and as I've said tons of times, it's not an ideal plan. In fact, I feel quite bad that it's gotten to this stage, that a certain religion must be scapegoated for this. But what I'll say is, and I've thought about this a lot, the first thing I'll say is, I was thinking of possibly putting in an Australian point system on these people. However, when you look at it anyway, the majority of them come in illegally anyway. The people who are causing troubles, they come in illegally. So I think that what I will say is, I think that Hillary Clinton's plan is, if you bring in more of them, more of those potential ISIS recruiters, she thinks that it would solidify the relationship with the other Middle Eastern countries, and then they would be able to defeat ISIS. That is what her plan is. What I think is, and what I will ask my opponent Armon, I admit it's not the ideal situation, but I am favouring it over Hillary Clinton's situation and plan to defeat Islamic terrorism and stop it from coming into the United States. What would be your plan to stop these illegal aliens coming in and stop causing a threat to national security? That's my question to Armon.
Okay. Armon, you have 30 seconds to respond to that.
It's simple. I wouldn't, because the fact it's really difficult to stop. You cannot stop it. It's very difficult to stop. But the fact is, there are people who are going to try to stop it, such as Donald Trump, by actually banning people by banning Muslims from coming into the United States because of that. That's not necessarily constitutional. And like you said, it's not the ideal situation. But the better thing to do is to at least try to isolate the source, to isolate, ISIS's Twitter page, ISIS's website, Facebook, because that's how they're recruiting more members, and try to at least deal with that on a technological front rather than focusing individual by individual.
Well, the truth is, it has been dealt on a technological front ever since Barack Obama came in office. It has been dealt with, and it's still not working. And correct me, this is a true statement. First of all, we have to be very, very careful when you say this. It's a temporary ban. And what Trump will do as president is he will use, as you said, he will use the internet to find what the hell is going on with the national security problems. The internet is a huge source. However, the main common denominator is Islam. And as much as it hurts me to say this, there is a huge problem with Islamic terrorism in the world. And I believe that the best way to deal with it is temporarily ban the source, and then look for the problem from there. And then as soon as the problem is resolved, or if it's not even working, then you go back to what's happening now.
Okay.
However, I believe at this stage it is the correct decision.
Okay.
Armon.
Shiv, I will just say two things and then we can go on, okay? Just two
Okay,
things.
of course. Yes.
First off, temporarily is too long in my book. Temporarily is far too long. And second, what Trump is suggesting is unconstitutional.
Okay. All right. All right.
I've said what I had to say. Go on.
All right. Okay. So Armon, this question is for you. Although Trump's immigration plans are very controversial and a bit extreme, don't you think that his strictness would be much better than having no plan at all? Ronald Reagan, who was one of the best ever presidents of the US ever had, once said that if you don't have a border, you can't have a country. Hillary Clinton wants to bring in more refugees and potential Islamic terrorists in order to give them a home. Isn't this incredibly dangerous for both the economy and the nation's security?
First off, I'm going to quote Ronald Reagan on this because, Alex, yes, he might have said that without a border,
He did
you
say
can't have
that.
a country. But wasn't he also the man who insisted to Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down a wall?
Well, the problem is Ronald Reagan. Okay. You asked me a question. You asked me a question.
Armon has 2 minutes to speak.
Well, you asked me a question, so I was going to respond. But anyway, I'll let you
Armon
finish
has
your
2
point.
minutes to speak.
Hypothetical, actually.
Okay, finish your point.
All right, so that's the first thing. Of course, Reagan said tear down the wall because he wanted people to be unified. Yes, I totally agree that these are potential threats. We don't know if they are or if they're not, and the fact that we're labeling all of them as potential essentially says, okay, so we're not going to put any trust in the faith of humanity. So yeah, Hillary might be controversial, but she's at least giving people the benefit of a doubt, which all Americans deserve, which all immigrants deserve coming into the United States.
Okay,
Well,
Alex.
first of all, what I will say is that the situation in the 80s was completely different to the situation there is now. And regarding the war with Mexico, and people will call me racist for saying this, I don't care. I'm sure we can both admit that from Mexico, there are people, there are not all of them, okay? There are people who come in and rape, there are people who sell drugs, and many of them are criminals. Can we both say that there are many people from Mexico, not all of them, and probably not the majority?
I will not say many. I will say I'll say a minority that gets totally publicized a lot.
But there's still
the media. There are still people, but it's not the majority. I will say that.
They're bringing in problems. Can we both agree on that? Can we both agree?
Not
all of them, but there are people who are bringing in problems, right?
Minority, because most immigrants that I know are trying to come in order to search for a better life.
Yeah, I know, but there are still some. Can we both agree on that?
There are some,
okay.
I will admit.
Anyway, going back to what Ronald Reagan said about to tear down the wall, the situation in the 80s is completely different to what the situation is now on October 8, 2016. Is a completely different... Oh, she's checking the date. So it's a completely different situation than what it is now. And I think that I'm in favor, much more than I'm in favor of building a wall, because I think that there are people who come in and rape and sell drugs. That's me being honest. There are, and under the facts show, that's my honest opinion. But what I will say is that regarding Islamic terrorism, I believe that Donald Trump has a much better plan. That's my point, guys.
All right. And my point is that you cannot necessarily build laws you cannot build walls to forbid things like basic human impulses. Now, the impulse to rape, I know, is not necessarily in everyone. Of course, there are more people who have it more than others, and that happens. We cannot necessarily control it. I'm so sorry, I do not know what happened just then. Did you guys get the last part of the sentence, or should I repeat that again?
Please repeat.
All right, like there are going to be people who will rape, who will commit crimes, but that's because they are criminals. We cannot necessarily control that just by building a wall. What we can control, however, is essentially sort of what type of people we bring in. And yeah, I will agree with Alex. I mean, yeah, we could build a wall, to keep people out, or more specifically, we can at least screen them instead of building a wall to make sure that the people we're bringing in are people who are going to be bringing in hard work. That's it.
Well, look,
Okay.
I think we have to move on. But what I will say is that I believe that having a plan, a controversial plan, and probably not the ideal plan, would be better than having a completely unsafe plan that could potentially regrow Islamic terrorism when this whole world, including my Democratic opponent, Hillary Clinton, I believe that Donald Trump's plan, although I don't agree with it fully, is much, much better than the plan Hillary Clinton has put forward. That's what I'll say.
Okay, and moving on to our final topic. Armon, this question is for you. Hillary Clinton has been involved in politics for 33 years and has undeniably made some shocking decisions as both Senator of New York and as Secretary of State. Two of them being she gave the rest button to Russia, which caused the Cold War to restart, and practically created ISIS by pulling out of Iraq too quickly, despite the military recommendation too early. Why should someone with that bad of a track record be elected?
Well, I will admit, she might have done that. I will not say that she did. She might have done that. But you also got to consider the positive stuff that she's done. The Americans with Disabilities Act is a very popular act here in the United States. It's provided not just me, but it's provided a lot of people here in the United States who wouldn't be able to get education and wouldn't able to get support with that support. And she was able to help them. Plus, she was the senator of New York during 9/11, and the way that she handled herself and the way that 9/11 was handled with the rebuilding and with the unification of people and government to try to build a stronger New York. Not many people could have done it, and she was able to do it. So yeah, she might have had some bad points, but she's also had some very good points. She's good at unifying the people. She's good at essentially negotiation. She's really good. I will say also, she's just a very good person in general. And I think, yeah, she might have some low points. Every person does. I could go into a laundry list of Donald Trump's low points, seeing as they're plastered all over the internet, but I will not go there because everyone has their good points, everyone has their bad points. But overall, you have to look at the general picture. And the general picture is that she would be a good candidate and she would actually be a very good president.
Alex, you have 1 minute.
Now, I've managed to keep my cool throughout this debate. I'm quite proud of myself because normally I lose the plot.
Oh, God.
You said she is a you said she's a decent person. This is a woman who's borrowed money from Saudi Arabia for her own personal benefits. That is a clear violation of the law. And she did it, and she didn't even do it. I would forgive her if she was doing it for the country. This is a woman who's lied to the people, borrowed money from Saudi Arabia, and used it in the Clinton Foundation, which was supposed to be going to charities, but that turned out to be utter bollocks, and it was given for her own personal use. Right? I'm sorry. I think she is a classless tosser. She is a terrible.
Alex.
She is a terrible. She is an absolutely shocking person. We can have a debate about politics, but I'm sorry, she is an absolutely terrible person.
I imagine
that's funny because with the things that Donald Trump is saying, like all the racist, xenophobic, misogynistic stuff, I can say the same thing about him.
Well, the thing is, Armon, people seem to have a short memory. People are on Donald Trump for being against what you call it, gay marriage. Well, the thing is, your candidate. What was it? What are we now? 2016? In 2009, it was her who was absolutely abolishing gay people, saying them that they should not have a constitutional right. But until Bill Clinton whispered in her ear, you know what, people are starting to hate us. Maybe you should put on a bit of a better show and bullshit something else. Then that's when she changed. So Trump's not homophobic. He's against gay marriage. Big difference. Okay, people need to learn. There's a big difference. But anyway,
I will
Hillary
say
Clinton.
this: the key thing you said, it was 2009. There were a lot of people who were like that. The thing is, she's for it now in 2016. Is Trump for it now in 2016? I don't think so.
Well, the majority of people aren't, though. That's the thing. The majority.
It's a federal law now. Any man can marry another man. Any man can marry another woman. Any woman can marry another woman.
But okay, anyway.
It's law.
Yeah,
you don't have to like it, but it's law.
It's a debate for another time, though.
Okay, Alex, moving on swiftly. Donald Trump is a madman who has the tendency to make stupid decisions when he is angry. Why should someone with his temperament be elected as the President of the United States? As his lack of knowledge on foreign policy is quite worrying. And on top of that, his temperament is too over the top.
Well, first of all, when you talk about temperament, when you talk about temperament, it was Hillary Clinton and her Democratic husband who said, go to Iraq, it would solve the problem. Now, Saddam Hussein, as we've said earlier, had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. That is a clear fact. We were told that when we went there, there were weapons of mass destruction, and that's why the US declared war. That turned out to be rubbish and a complete lie. Second of all, it was her who, and she was involved in politics, so I'm sure she knew. She decided to go into a meaningless war, and she's supposed to be the princess of all women fighting for human rights. Well, it was because of her stupidity that millions and millions of women and men were dead because of a meaningless war. Is that really a good temperament, going into a meaningless war? Whereas Trump, where people accuse him of being a bit over the top with some of his decisions, was firmly against going to war. So that's where you have to look at things.
Armon, you have a minute.
Wasn't Donald Trump the one who said I would bomb the shit out of them?
Yeah, he was the one who said he would bomb the shit.
I wouldn't necessarily call that a good temperament.
He was the one who said he'll bomb the shit out of ISIS. He did say that. Let's go. Next point.
Mm-hmm. But also, yeah, Hillary Clinton might not have the best temperament, but neither does Trump. I mean, if you look at it, most of the campaign, he's telling people to go F themselves. I'm sorry, I will not swear anymore. That's the only time I will swear because, of course, that's just the point. And he said a lot of inflammatory stuff. I'm not sure, like, in terms of what the things that he's saying in comparison to what Clinton is saying, and you also got to consider the scenario. I mean, Donald, the only reason why he's young, trying to at least attract attention to himself and get votes, which is working. Hillary only yelled during the Bernie Sanders campaign. You rarely see her yelling anymore. Rarely.
Well, the thing is, right? The thing is, how someone performs in a debate barely means anything when how someone performs on a CNBC debate isn't exactly a good indicator.
Debate, actually. I was talking about in general.
Hey, I'm speaking. If someone anyway, if someone can't handle a bunch of CNBC moderators, right? And you could see in the Democratic primaries, she may have done well against Trump in that debate. In the Democratic primaries, I thought she was a terrible debater. But anyway, even though she does have a good temperament in the debates, how is that a good indicator of how someone would be when they would potentially have to declare war, make a consequential decision that could affect millions and millions of people, not only in the US, but across the globe? How is that temperament appropriate? Now, as for Donald Trump and where he is good, I have to praise Trump. I can't only abolish Clinton. But anyway, what Trump will do is, Trump, unlike Clinton, who's never had a proper job in her life, Trump has actually done stuff for the American people. He has employed tens of thousands of people, both men and women. When they went to war in Iraq, in one of his hotels, he praised the wounded warriors for coming into his hotel, and he helped them out. That is the kind of person the United States needs, not a liar who has a terrible track record in politics. Run over.
Okay, Armon, you will have 13 minutes to respond to
13 minutes?
30 seconds, sorry.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm glad I have 30 minutes. I can just take my sweet time. All right, no, but seriously though, I mean, Hillary Clinton, yeah, she might have had a bad track record. And honestly, she might not be the best debater, but that just shows one thing. In terms of how bad she was debating in the Democrat primary versus Trump, she's also a good learner. She knows exactly what she needs to do in order to improve. And here's the thing. She's not necessarily going to be the best president. I'll give you a good example of another famous Republican president by the name of Abraham Lincoln. He wasn't necessarily the best president when he took office in 1860, but he learned over time how exactly to balance what he thought was right and also what was right for America. Also, by the way, the president cannot declare war. Congress has to declare war. You know, Hillary Clinton, even if, you know, she was controlling, she could not declare war on people. She has no power to do that.
Well, the thing is, right, war happens in two ways. One, either the world leaders will come together and they will decide if they think that war is appropriate. The other way is that if a world leading country, for example, Britain, the US, Russia, etc., if those countries, so in the US, let's put in this decision, Congress and the Senate believe that war should be declared. Who do they go to first? Ring the president up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Would you feel safe with that woman being in charge of the decisions that could be consequential to the world, 7 billion people? Would you feel comfortable? Because Trump, despite him being a bit of a madman on some topics, has a very, very, very incredibly conservative and sometimes weak views on war. That's what I have to say.
All right, that is fair. I will give you that one. That is actually pretty fair. But call me crazy, I would rather have Hillary make the call 3 in the morning than Trump. Because I remember I could easily hear him over the phone saying, bomb the shit out of them.
That's
all right.
That's quite funny, I'll give that.
Okay, now let us conclude this debate. Armon, Alex, you have 2 minutes to make your closing statements.
Alex, you go first.
Okay, fine, I'll go first. Well, what I believe is that this, as I said in the beginning, this world is evolving and it's becoming a capitalist world. And I believe that the right person to lead and steer this country in the right direction is Donald Trump. He has had a tremendous record in trade and in business, and those are two things that the country are struggling in. He is tougher than anyone on illegal immigration, and he has the right temperament to regrow the military and make consequential decisions that could affect millions and millions of people across the globe. Because to tell you the truth, Trump said this himself, the people who we get along with is not the wealthy, it's the poor people, it's the taxi drivers, it's the truck drivers, those people who don't earn a lot of much, who don't earn much. It's those people who we get along with, and it's those people who like Trump, not the wealthy billionaires who want Clinton to win so they can start paying less taxes. That is my thing, and this goes for the wealthy, not the middle class. That is my point. I will openly say I believe that the two of them aren't the best candidates. However, I believe that one is far, far better than the other.
Okay, Armon, yours?
So to go off of Alex's point, I also agree we do not have the best candidates, but I do believe one is better than the other, and it sure as hell ain't Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton will be able to guide the United States, especially since it's now a foreign world. What happens in the United States, what happens in any country around the world affects everyone. Look at Brexit, for example. When Britain decided they were going to leave the EU, worldwide stocks crashed. The value of the pound crashed a little bit. And yes, I know in terms of your opinion, Alex, I totally get it.
No, it's not about my opinion. It's not about my opinion. When the pound crashed in June, it was 5% higher than it was in February.
I know, but I'm just making the point. What happens in one country affects the entire world.
Exactly, and that's why Clinton should be elected.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. Hillary Clinton is not just a former Secretary of State, but someone who's actually been in the White House before, understands exactly.
I have a joke to make, but I'm not.
Okay, make it afterwards then.
Yeah.
I didn't interrupt you during your conclusion.
Yeah, fair enough. Go on.
And as a result, I believe that Hillary Clinton would be better than Donald Trump in this case. In terms of the economy, yeah, maybe Trump might be better. I will say might. I will not say he will be. He might be, because the only way we'll be able to find out is we vote for him. But if you put the right cabinet behind Hillary Clinton, especially on something like economics, she would be able to actually boost the U.S. economy as well as essentially create a stronger America. And you know what? Trump says make America great again. I live in America, and I will say this. It's already a great country. It doesn't need to be made great.
Well, I will say, as my last 3 words, the problems that this issue is facing, Donald Trump is undeniably the much, much better candidate. Now, as I said Armon earlier, the majority of us come from relatively wealthy backgrounds compared to the average human being. So for you, I don't know where you live. You could be living in a mansion with a swimming pool. But to be honest,
Actually,
but to be honest, Ruben says she's a shifty bitch. But anyway, well, anyway, in all seriousness, I think with the issues that are facing not only the world but the United States in particular, Donald Trump is best prepared to handle them. That's what I'll say. I respect your opinion, however. I'm very passionate about this. I believe I'm right.
I as well. It's just, and it's great. We've also had this debate, and And first off, Shiv, thank you so much for being the moderator for this.
Yeah, thanks very much, Shiv.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so for all of us here at Strength in Numbers, first off, thank you so much for watching this video. We are so grateful that you were able to watch, and we hope that you join us for this. And don't forget.
I'm on. Before they tune out, could Alex tell his joke? Because
no, it's not appropriate. There's kids watching. There's kids watching.
There are kids watching. Okay.
I'm not saying it on camera. No way.
Good.
All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly finish up my thing. So don't forget, everyone, like, share, subscribe, the whole enchilada. Of course, you know how to find Alex. You can find me by finding Alex. Shiv, honestly, thank you so much for coming onto the channel. We hope to see
thanks
you
very much.
very soon.
Thank you very much.
You were awesome. So from everyone at the Strength in Numbers team, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
All right.